Hey all, for this assignment we are going to be working through Code.org Lesson 3 Drawing in Game Lab. So what we're going to do is, again, we're going to go to our Clever and we're going to open up our Code.org through Clever. And then once we do that, and let me go ahead and get to the student view. Alright, so now we're at the student view, so we're going to go ahead and we are looking for lesson 3, so lesson 2, and here's lesson 3. So we're going to be working through all of these lessons right here. We're going to do the first lesson, so we've got our lesson 3, which is drawing in Game Lab, and then we've got several skills that we need to complete. So we're going to start with this skill right here, which has the computer and the one next to it, and this is just the introduction to the Game Lab. And then we're going to go into our skill building, which is going to be skill 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So we're going to finish all those skills. So let's go ahead and start with skill number 1. And we'll click on that little computer with the one next to it. And then what we're going to do now is we are going to be reading the directions. So the directions are going to be right here, and it's going to tell us pretty much what it wants us to do. So for this first skill, welcome to the Skill Lab, where you can create interactive animations and games. So what it wants us to do is look at the line of code below, and the line of code is going to be right here. In this RETC, this just means it's telling the computer to draw a rectangle. And these numbers right here, this is your X and your Y coordinate. So if you show the grid, here's our X and Y. You can see the little X and Y that's coming up every time I move the button. So what this code is telling the computer to do is to draw a rectangle at the starting point of 100 and 100. So we should have a rectangle once we run this at approximately right here, and this should draw a rectangle right here to right here. So let's go ahead and see what happens. So we run it, and that's pretty much exactly what it did, is it drew that rectangle for us. Alright, so once we draw the rectangle, we're going to click Finish. And it's going to make that little weird sound, and then we're going to press continue. And we are now at the second skill, and we're just going to work through these skills until we're done. So for this skill right here, what we need to do is, again, follow the directions. So to do this, here is the same line of code from the previous level. Okay, so it's rectangle, so it's telling us to draw a rectangle of 350, 350. So X coordinate 350, Y coordinate 350. Now these two lines right here, when you have the two backslashes, that means that it's what's called a comment. And a comment in code just tells the computer that the writing after it, ignore it. So we can read these comments, but the computer is going to skip over it. It means nothing to the computer, but it means a lot to us. So for this right here, it's telling the computer to draw a rectangle at 350 and 350. So the rectangle should be drawn right about here. And this might have been, let's see here, is there any way to reset this? Clear. And just give me 1 second. Alright, so for this assignment right here, what we need to do is we need to change these numbers so we can go ahead and get the box to the bottom right hand corner. So I believe in yours, that Y coordinate is going to be something like 100. I think I already changed it. So it might be something like that, where it's going to be in the top left hand corner. But what we want is the directions telling us change the numbers inside the block, then try running the program again. Try to place the rectangle near the bottom right of the screen. So we want the rectangle right about here, so right into the bottom right hand corner. And so in order to get to the bottom right, I would go with rectangle 350, 350. That's what I would do. So let's go ahead and hit 350, 350, and then run it. And that gives us the rectangle right into the bottom right hand corner. And so once we do that, we're going to go ahead and click Finished and then Continue. And let's take a look at what the next step is going to be. Alright, let's go ahead and take a look at skill 3. So for this skill right here, now the first thing I'm seeing here is telling us to do this, but I can't see what it's telling me to do. So I'm going to go to these 3 little dots, and I'm going to go ahead and lower it. So what this is telling us, a big part of using GabeLab is understanding position. Remember, you can always turn on the grid. So we're going to go ahead and turn on the grid, but also when we're moving the mouse, it's showing the coordinates as well. So place 2 rectangles exactly in the corners of the screen, just like the picture. So the picture is going to be right here. So it wants us to go ahead and draw a rectangle right here, and then draw a rectangle right here. And it's given us, it's telling us, showing right here, drawing 3 rectangles. So let's see what happens here. And I'm going to change. Let's see what happens when we run it. So we're running it, and it's given us rectangles all over the place. So we want to get the rectangle here and here. So let's go ahead and reset it. And we're going to change this. I'm going to change this first one to 0 and 0. Let's see what happens. Because I want it right here. And this right here is 0. And the next one I want right here, which is going to be about 350, 350. So I'm going to change this second one to 350, 350. 350. And then 350. And now it's not showing, it's got a third block here, but it's not showing where it wants the third block. So I'm going to put the third block right here in this corner. And I want this one to be at 0 and 350. So for this one right here, I'm going to put it at 0 and then 350. All right, let's run it. Let's see what happens. And there we go. So now it's got the 2 corners like it has in this picture right here. And then it gave us a third one. So the third one goes right here. Or if you want to take this one right here, to let us delete it, it lets us delete it. And so if we delete that, we can run it again. And now we've got identical to this picture right here. All right, so we'll click finished and we'll move on to the next. All right, so now we're at skill level 4. So let's take a look at what this is asking us to do. All right, so for this assignment, what we're going to do, or this skill, what it's telling us to do is to look at the code that sets the color. And if you click this right here, it's going to show you what it's talking about. So we click show me where, and it shows us what it's talking about. So what this code is telling us is change the color from blue to yellow. So this right here says fill. And if you drop this arrow down, it's going to give you the options of what color you want it to fill. So look at the code that sets the color. Change the color from blue to yellow. Well, it's already changed to yellow. So if yours is blue, then change it to blue. And then what we're going to do is we are going to add a new square to the image. And we're going to drag out the rectangle. So we've got, so let's see where we're at right here. So we've got 3 blocks, or I've got 3 blocks on mine. So I'm going to go ahead and reset this. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get rid of some, all right, so if I'm going to run this, I've got my 3 blocks right there. If y'all don't, make sure just drag over your different blocks to fill that in. So change the color from blue to yellow. I've got it yellow. Add a square, and we want it to look similar to this. Drag out the rectangle. So if you drag out here, you can put the rectangle here, and you can just, when you drag out this right here, this is going to build a new rectangle every single time you drop it over here. And then these coordinates tell us where to go ahead and build a rectangle. And so this right here tells them to fill in the rectangle with yellow. And if you run it, this looks similar to this right here. And I'm not sure. I don't think I can clear. Reset. Clear. It's not letting me clear. It's not letting me go back to where it was before, right at the original. But that's what you want it to do. You want your code to look similar to this picture right here. And if you run this code, it looks similar to that. So you want your code to look similar to this. And you're going to do that by dragging over the fill and the creating the rectangle. So you want 3 squares. All right. And that's going to wrap it up for this one. And the next video is going to take us into, we'll click on finish. And this next video is going to start off with level 5.